How you doing? This is James Volpe Rotundi for Acoustic Guitar Magazine, and today I'm sitting down with two of the brand new Billy Strings signature guitars from Martin Guitars of Nazareth, Pennsylvania. The one I have right here is the very beautiful Martin D28 Billy Strings edition, and the other one is the DX2E, which is a fantastic guitar as well, and I'll be covering that in this segment as well. Now, you've just heard a little bit of this guitar, and it has all the sort of richness and tonal quality that you might expect from a beautiful Martin D28. This guitar is based on Billy's long-time, pre-war, 1940 to be specific, D28. That's been in his family for quite a long time and has great sentimental value and, of course, incredible tone as well. And it is the classic bluegrass guitar, of course, and Billy is the first bluegrass musician in 22 years to have a #1 album across all charts, which is quite an accomplishment. So this guitar comes as no surprise, although one of the surprises you may notice is that it has a slightly wider nut width than traditional D28 does. And it also has a slightly shorter scale length than a traditional D28. I think both of these are absolute positives, okay? It may not be your bag, but let me explain why. The slightly wider nut width, why? Because D28s can feel a little skinny sometimes, especially, if you have big hands, you want a slightly wider neck. Anyway, I have quite big hands, studied classical guitar, so I like the very slight increase. Billy actually says he doesn't have such big hands, but he still loves it because it helps him just get his fingers into places that might otherwise be a little harder to get to, particularly when you're down in these lower frets. The shorter scale length is very interesting. And what it does is it actually reduces the tension on the strings ever so slightly. That gives you a little bit of extra bending potential with a dreadnought that you often don't get, especially with strings that are 13s on the top, which is what both of these guitars come loaded with. So I happen to think both are a real blessing. Plus, for those of you who may play with this kind of more classical positioning from time to time, like to really spread your fingers out, you're going to find it is just a touch more comfortable and makes those wider positionings quite a bit easier to play, in my opinion. I also love the antique tone of this finish, the way they've added a little antique toner to it. The herringbone by the binding here is, of course, classic to a HD28. I just love the sort of butterbean style tuners, which are really lovely. I love the cut of this neck. It's, I guess, a modified oval is how they're describing this. A modified low oval neck shape, and it's extremely comfortable. This guitar sounds incredible. Now, it is a little more expensive than an off-the-wall D28. And you have to ask yourself if an HD28 that's a little more expensive because it's the Billy Strings model with, especially, like I said, those two particular changes, which I happen to think for many of us are actually going to be positives. We may discover that this is something a lot of folks have been kind of wanting. You want to play a dreadnought, but maybe it feels a little long and a little big. Maybe you have a slightly smaller body frame. You may find this really pleasing. I know that I do, and I'm used to a traditional D28 and love those, of course, as well. So check it out. Spruce top, absolutely lovely East Indian rosewood back and sides. You absolutely cannot knock this guitar. Like I said, retails for a bit more than a regular D28, but very interesting guitar, very good sounding guitar. Very cool and very reasonably priced Billy Strings DX2E. E standing for electronics. They're right in there. You've got the Martin E1 system in here. Super cool with the little tuner right there below. So when you're at the gig and you're trying to talk, you can actually look straight down and nobody even knows maybe you're tuning. But also a lot of interesting features as well. Now this guitar is also like the Billy Strings D28. It's also based on Billy's longtime pre-war D28, which is a guitar very close to his heart and his main axe, if you will. Although in concert he does a lot of interesting things, even adding electronics, even a little electronic switch on his many of his acoustic guitars. You can read more about that in my cover story in Acoustic Guitar Magazine this month. But back to the Billy Strings DX2E. Like the D28, it has two notable departures from traditional dreadnought stuff. Well, more than two. The main two I'm thinking of, though, is the slightly increased nut width. So this nut width is this neck is a little bit wider than a traditional D28. This one comes in at around 1 and 23/32, and I like it. I really do. But it also has a slightly reduced scale length. So this is a 25-inch scale length. Bending suddenly comes a lot more naturally on these two Billy Strings guitars as well. And I think that may have a little bit to do with the fact that he's been really enjoying kind of ripping blues solos on his acoustic these days. Otherwise, this is really a classic D28 style guitar. It certainly has the dreadnought body. What is interesting is that the back and sides are a different material than you might expect. These are Brazilian rosewood patterned HPL. Now, I'm not going to go into the many depths of HPL, but it is sort of a synthetic wood material. And the top, however, is classic spruce. So you're still getting a solid spruce top on this guitar. And I absolutely love the neck on this thing. The neck on the X2E, if I'm not mistaken, is a type of ebony-like material, whereas the D28 itself is the ebony. But I really love this guitar. I think it's an amazing guitar, especially when you think about a suggested retail price of $899, $900. And you may well see it on the market for less, maybe slightly more. I'm not gonna have you take my word on that, but the list price is $899, $900. Now, this is a good guitar. In fact, even comparing it to the D28, it's a pretty damn good guitar. I actually love the satin finish. That's one way to save a little money on the back end. The neck is great. First of all, these open gear tuners, totally sexy. How can you not love that? Even the HD28 or the Billy Strings D28 doesn't have that cool open gear stuff. I just think that's such a cool touch. This guitar is easy to play. It's light. It's got good electronics in here. I've played it a bit through my acoustic amp, and it sounds really great. And honestly, especially for a kind of like a road guitar, you know, if you're doing a lot of dates and you may not want to bring a $3,700 guitar on the road all the time. But this guitar has really good rich tone. And like the other D28, it's a little bit of a ripper. You can move around on this thing. Some acoustic guitars fight you more than others. This one and the Billy Strings D28 do not fight you at all. In fact, they're very inviting to play. They sound good, and try doing that on a set of 13s at a regular scale length. Not quite as easy, efficient, and still rich in tone as this one is. So check them out. The Billy Strings D28 and the Billy Strings DX2E from Martin Guitars from Nazareth, Pennsylvania, of course. Please read my cover story in Acoustic Guitar this month, and please go on to the Martin Guitar website and check out the videos with Billy talking and playing his signature guitars as well. It's a very cool thing, and thanks to Martin, thanks to Billy, and hope you enjoy these guitars. Do get to your local dealer and check them out. This is James Volpe Rotundi from East Nashville. We'll see you next time.